In 2 months, I will be celebrating 25 years of being an expat, and I wanted to share my personal experience in rather philosophical terms rather than practical. And the very first thing I wanted to highlight is that every place taught me that identity is flexible and not fixed. Most people on earth, including myself, think about identity being connected to the place of their birth, of the place where they grew up and became a human being, a real person. Same happened with me. When I moved from Ukraine at the age of 21, I was pretty sure that my environment that shaped me and my culture, my habits and my inner circle created me the way that would be unchanged. How wrong I was. Now, after living in 10 different countries, including my home countries, I can say that I am none of the places where I lived, but I am a blend of those places. When I go to Ukraine, I don't behave and I don't react like a Ukrainian who spent their entire life without living elsewhere. And so when I am in Ukraine, I don't feel myself exactly as a Ukrainian, even though I still do feel connection to the country and to the culture and what have you. Certain things I see as an outsider, and I'm also not always easily accepted to the local circles because of my new acquired expat identity. Now, when I live in France, in the country where cumulatively I spent 8 years, where I speak the language fluently and I'm well versed in their culture, literature, habits, I'm also not perceived as a French per se, and I know that I will never be. And this is fine, but also I find this great because I don't want to fit in. I want to be this person who has their own perspectives and brings their unique points of view. And so in all of my experiences, I'm not just a Ukrainian who lives in France, but I bring a little bit of the culture of every place, from every place where I lived before. In the past, I was struggling with this fitting in situation. I wanted to be perceived as an Ukrainian. Or, for example, after several years living in France, I got so fond of the French culture that I had a very strong desire to be perceived as a French person. There is nothing wrong with fitting in, but also there is nothing wrong with not fitting in. And I'm quite proud of all the experience that I have lived and my unique perspectives that I'm bringing to the table. So after 25 years living here and there, I can proudly say that I'm not only a Ukrainian, but a little bit of French and a little bit of German and a little bit of Japanese and a little bit of Irish. My second biggest insight is that home is not about a place, but about people, experiences and memories. Home for me, it's not a place with 4 walls and a roof, the place where I come and rest. For me, home is the place where I created connections, I have built memories. It would be a specific cafe or a specific ritual, a certain food or a habit that I acquired in this or that place. When I lived in Ireland, I used to go for a swim to the sea every Sunday. It became not just a tradition, but it became a part of myself. I had this whole ritual of preparing a thermos of hot tea, putting my blanket and warm clothes, cycling to the seaside, swimming, then getting back on the shore, drinking tea and chatting with other swimmers. The smell of the sea, sun, cold sea and chit-chat immediately brings me back to Ireland. So wherever in the world I am, and if there is a seaside around and I go there, it brings me to my Irish home. Or for instance, in Germany, every now and then I would have brunch with my friends and we would eat this traditional German breakfast with small bread rolls called Brötchen. And even I'm abroad and I see a German bakery, and whenever I can buy a Brötchen, it connects me to my German home. Today in France, I live in the middle of the fields, and every day I go for a 1-hour walk between the fields. And I'm sure that when I move away from France, this feeling of fresh earth in November or golden crop in June will remind me of my French home. And after all these years of wanderings and meeting people who are also expats and nomads like me, I know that people whom I met, they became friends for life. And even if we don't speak for many months, whenever we meet, it feels as if we have never said goodbye. And I know now that I have home in every city in this world where I have a friend or relationship from my past experience. Surprisingly, I realized this third thing just recently, that living abroad or being an expat is a very entrepreneurial thing. Because, hey, you need to adjust first to understand and adjust to new systems. Then you need to develop your social circles. You need to figure out how to get things and how to behave, how to translate cultural codes. And you also need to kind of sell yourself and your ideas to this new social and professional circle that you are building in a new place. And actually, it's not surprising that quite a lot of expats are building startups and becoming entrepreneurial. And the last insight that I got, and I'm still struggling with it, is that there is no perfect place. There is absolutely not. Each place is a trade-off. Each place has pros and cons. Especially the more places you live in, the higher my expectations are. Because when I dream about a new country to live in, I try to imagine that it would have, for example, interesting culture like in Japan, and great food like in France, and reliable and amazing public transport, and perfect bike lanes like in Germany. But Nothing like this exists in this world, and the perfect country exists only in my head. Moving countries, moving to a new place, it's not only gives you something, but also takes something. The comfort that you previously had may not be the same in the new place. And so I have to deal with that. In the beginning, I was really struggling with that. I was struggling that I don't get in my new country everything that I had from the previous experience. But my personal approach to this is the following. I accept that there will be this trade-off, and I accept that there will be downsides, that there will be things, systems, habits, cultural particularities that I won't like. And so when I move to a new place, I'm trying to embrace this, filter what I like and what I don't like, and to create my bubble where I'm comfortable and navigate through this bubble. And then I can always go back to my memories to remember the places and the experiences which I don't have in the country where I live. When I left Ukraine in the first place, when I was 21, I wanted to become somebody, to return back to Ukraine and then apply my knowledge and to kind of benefit my country from my experience. But after a couple of years living abroad, and actually France was my first country after I left Ukraine, I realized that I didn't want to return, and not because Ukraine was a bad country or had something that I didn't like, but because I was so excited about this new identity that I developed and new experiences that I had, that I became a little bit like a drug addict. I decided that I wanted to move further and not only discover new places and new people, but also see myself in these new situations, new environments, and enrich myself through these experiences. If I have to now summarize my 25-year experience, it's that there is absolutely no perfect place. You have the ability to build this place within and carry it through the physical spaces where you're moving. And that each place not only gives you something, but also takes something from you. But the greatest gift from all these wanderings in all these places was and still is a perspective. When I lived in Ukraine, I had a particular point of view on myself, on the world, on different things and situations. But then each country has its own perspective and its own angle on dealing with situations, on seeing things. And honestly, these different perspectives made me much richer, made me also appreciate greatly the country where I was born, and give me tools to navigate different life circumstances. These different perspectives allowed me to also understand myself better and to look inside deeper. And for this reason, I truly believe that every person would benefit from living abroad, even for a short while. Because through these new experiences, they would discover a bigger version of themselves. So that was my reflection on the 25 years of wanderings. And if there are any particular questions or topics that you are interested in, maybe you are a fresh expat right now and you wonder about something, drop the question in the comments. And I would be also curious to know what you have discovered about yourself when living in different countries.